Hello to everyone in our audience, and especially to those of you joining from our virtual hub. My name is Duncan Dykes. Welcome to DocEdge 2022. Today, for our Q&A, we have Ohad Milstein from Summer Nights. He's the director of the film. Ohad, it's so wonderful to have you with us.
I'm happy to be with you as well. It's here noon in Tel Aviv, exactly noon, and I'm very delighted to be in this conversation.
So just to let everyone know, the way this is going to work is I'll start us off with a couple of questions, and then partway through, I'll throw to our virtual audience. So if you are in our virtual hub, then put some questions in our chat, and at about the halfway mark of this, we'll go to you guys and put your questions to Ohad. So just to begin, can you tell me how you decided to tell this story? What was it that triggered you deciding this would be what you wanted to make a movie about?
So actually, this whole idea came from Alva, from my son. Um, as you probably noticed, if you watch the film, I'm kind of a one-man band. So I do the production and the directing and the camera work and sound and editing. And I edit here from, this is the living room of our house. And when I was working on my last film, not Summer Nights, but the one before, he said to me, "Dad, why are you making those complicated movies? Why don't you make just something simple?" And I asked him, "Okay, what would you recommend me?" And then he said, "Well, let's do a film, just me and you speaking." And this was when he was about 5 years old. It took about a year till his idea came um, to happen, and I started recording those night conversations that we used to have since he's two, um, and from that the film started.
Interesting. So it all came from Alva, your son. I'm curious now, as a father, I think making a documentary that's sharing some of your son's thoughts quite kind of intimately to an audience, was there any sort of hesitation to undergoing that sort of challenge? Was there anything you were wanting to avoid doing in making a movie about that?
No, not really. I think my motivation was to capture this really special moment of him in the last summer vacation before he goes to first grade, and I wanted to have this innocence, his way of looking at the world, to have it captured. Because I think he was very cute back then, and when I was filming, he's still very cute. But when he was 2 years old, he was much more cute, and I'm really sorry I didn't capture it, more of it back then. So my real motivation was to capture it and to have it fixed, that it cannot disappear.
Mm. So, out of curiosity, how long were you filming for? How much time does the film cover?
So the film actually was mostly filmed in the 2 months before, in the summer vacation. That's the 2 months before he went to first grade. We spent like some of the time here in Tel Aviv and some of the time in Switzerland, where his grandma is living. We are we are like mixed couple. I'm from Israel, and Rachel, my partner, is from Switzerland. So we were most of the filming was in these 2 months, and after that there was some stitching. Like if something was missing, I still had the chance to reshoot or something like that. But really, most of the recording and most of the filming was in those 2 months.
Mm. And I guess that ability to reshoot, that's kind of an advantage of making a film where so much of it is just you and then your family.
Yeah, that's a big advantage. They are very accessible, and they want for the
Mm.
good of the film.
Mm. Well, I'm curious, has your family seen the film? What do they think of it?
Of course, they saw the film. First of all, I screened it to the family of Rachel, in my partner, in Switzerland, and they really loved it. And my family saw it in Doc Aviv, where it premiered here in Israel, in Tel Aviv. They were very proud, and they're all very happy to be part of this movie.
Hmm. Something I'm curious about is that, on a smaller level, the film is just about these nighttime conversations between you and Alva. But then as the film goes on, it becomes sort of a broader statement about fatherhood and about aging. When you started the film, did you know where you wanted to go with it?
No, I did not know. I really just wanted to have those conversations recorded. But then, when Alva started asking those very complicated questions, I started to try to remember how did I deal with those difficult situations and like as a kid. And I remember that when I was a kid, I was really um, I was first of all, I didn't want to make my father sad, and I was also ashamed to ask him those difficult questions. I felt it's not allowed, so I never asked him. And I remember those like minutes or hours before falling asleep. It could have been more than just a few minutes. All those thoughts and fears had popped from my mind, like staying in the dark in my own room. That was like a very good ground for those frightening thoughts. So I decided to go with those questions that Alva is asking me about difficult questions about life and death to my father, and to close this circle after maybe 40 years.
Hmm. And so, how far into making the film did your father get involved?
Um, when I was this part was after I had the most of the materials of the summer vacation, and then I went to film my father. Um, I think it was like after the first 2 months of shooting, I started filming my father as well.
Hmm. I guess maybe one last question from me before I put us over to the audience. If there's one idea, one emotion that you're hoping an audience that watches this film comes away with, what would you say it is?
One emotion. I think this film is connecting to anyone that has been in the past a child, and that's anyone, or has a kid, or has a father, or had a father. So I think in a way it's revealing once again this feeling as being a kid, or dealing with a kid in this time. So just to rediscover this very special and unique point of view of 6 years old on the world.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think, as you say, it's themes that I think everyone can connect to. Now, I'm going to put us over to the audience for some questions. Our first question is from Ashley. How does making a film with your family differ from making a film about strangers in your experience?
Well, making a film with my family is much easier because they, as I said, they're very accessible, and they really, I'm happy to participate. This is the second movie I'm doing with my family. The first film is called Week 23. It was like about the pregnancy of my partner Rachel, which was a difficult and complicated pregnancy. And it had a really strong impact from people that watched the film. And I really enjoyed having this ability to portray the life close to me. But it's never, I try to avoid the idea of just putting on film a very specific story. I always try to give it a wider perspective about humanity, about as you said, fatherhood or motherhood, and not just, it's not just a specific story that is exposed. So this is important for me. Though I film very close people to me, it's not just their story.
And I guess to dig into that a little bit more, um, are there any particular sort of challenges or sensitivities to making a film that's essentially about your life? It's about your family, but it's so much about you as well.
Yeah, but I think now times everybody is so exposed everywhere on those social platforms, and I don't think there is a big difference between putting your family's photos in a social platform or making a film about your family. It's quite the same.
Hmm. Well, thank you for that. For our next question, we have Nikki. What did your dad think about being in the movie?
My father is very much honored to be in the movie. He really, uh, he really is and was happy to participate, and I never give the people that I'm filming, even if it's my family, the bigger picture about the film. They just tell them about the scene that we are going to film and the topic that we are going to discuss. And I think he was really surprised to see the whole thing coming together. And I think also it's something that influenced his and our interaction. First of all, we started hugging much more that we did before the film, and it's important for him to have this connection. And he started to speak it with his father. He framed the picture, and whoever saw the movie knows what I'm speaking about. He framed this picture of his father, of my grandfather that I never met, and he put it on the wall. And he told me now that he starts making those small night conversations at the end of the day, and asks and tells him how his day was, and makes small interaction with the picture of his father.
It's wonderful that you can see already kind of an impact the film, making the film has had on the people around you. For our next question, we have from Tony. Did your son guide the direction of the film with his ideas along the way?
Um, Not really, but mainly the subjects are subjects that came from him. So I think the content in general was coming from him, but I wouldn't say that he guided the directing. I mean the direction. So direction is the content. Yeah, content came from him. These are the subjects that he was dealing and still is dealing um, on this time at that time.
Well, out of curiosity, so do you think then you mentioned that the idea for this first came from when he was about 2 years old, from the conversations you were having around then? How do you think the film would have been different if you had made the film when he was that age, and the kinds of things that he was talking to you about at that age?
No, the ideas didn't come when he was two. The ideas came when he was five. I just said that we had
My apologies.
those night conversations since he's two. Of course, they developed through the
Mm.
years. Not the same conversations that we did back then when he started to speak, till till like he was five. But it's definitely practice that we did since he's two, and this is something that I kind of was important for us as parents, is that when our kids are falling asleep, we first of all we all slept in the same room. Something about the idea of the human monkey that needs to sleep as a bunch and not individually, each individual in his own room, made us the need to sleep together till Alva was about that age, 6. And we always made sure that when they fall asleep, Alva and his sister, we are next to them, and not that they're falling asleep alone.
Hmm. Interesting. Oh well, for our next question from Elise, what did you learn about yourself while making this film?
What did I learn about myself while making this film? Um, I don't think the film is about me in any way. I learned that people think that I'm not a very good hair hairdresser. Though I thought I'm a very good hairdresser, haircut. I don't know barber.
Hmm.
Uh, so this I learned, and I stopped making the haircuts for Alva, and we started going to a barber. Um,
So on that note, was there any hesitancy from your dad for getting a haircut from you during the making of the film?
No, he didn't hesitate, but he was not also he didn't know what to expect. So since then, he stopped coming to my salon with his
Mm,
haircut needs.
mm. All right. For our next question, also from Elise, what did you learn about your son that you weren't aware of?
First of all, it was very interesting to see how open he is to speak about those things that I was so um, avoiding, about the subject that I was so much avoiding. I learned how cooperative it is, and I really, I enjoyed, of course, the time with him, but I couldn't imagine better quality time that I could gain, not only in the filming, but also in the editing. I remember when he started his first grade, I would take him to school and then come back home and then spend these special moments with him back home on the editing process. And I really, really enjoyed his presence and the quality time that we gained through those weeks of filming and editing.
Hmm. For our next question from Roy. Sorry. Yeah, from Roy. The Hush conversation makes it a very intimate film. What made you choose to use this style?
Well, the style came mostly from the issue that Alva is sleeping next to his sister or falls asleep next to his sister, and his sister was already asleep when we were recording those conversations. Otherwise, it was impossible to make any conversations when she's awake. So we had to whisper. So the style came from these consequences. But I actually really, when I heard it for the first time, I thought it's something I really am glad to adopt as a cinematic style. And I think there is nothing more. Um, I think for me at least, it's very pleasurable to have someone that you love or that you like whispering in your ear, and this zero distance that is between the film and the audience. I don't know, or to me, it's something I really find it treasurable.
Yeah, a real sense of intimacy, like you're hearing their thoughts in a more kind of direct way, I guess.
Yeah, yeah. There is no like no buffer zone. I don't know exactly the word in English, but no, there is no distance uh, between the film and the viewer.
Hmm. Well, I guess one last question from me before we have to wrap up. Do you know what you're working on next? Do you have another project that you have in mind already?
Yeah, I'm working now on a new project also with my family. It will be the third personal movie, maybe the last, or I don't know. So it's a film about. It's called Two Stories About Love, and it's about love and how it changes through the years. I'm trying to portray the way that my parents' relationship changed since their honeymoon till nowadays. Trying to close a circle about that.
Hmm. Well, fantastic. I'm glad we have that to look forward to. Well, again, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. For those of you in our audience who haven't had a chance to see the film yet, it's available on our virtual cinema until the 10th of July, and I really recommend checking it out. For those of you in our virtual hub right now, then the exhibitions are staying open for another hour, so I highly recommend checking those out. There's some really, really groundbreaking, really interesting, interactive XR sort of exhibits there. Um, and otherwise, yeah, once again, Ohad, thank you so much for taking the time to sit with us and talk about the film.
Thank you. It was my pleasure.